and they certainly they'd battled away until that point. Okay, on to other results then. The first one is from Carsten. It was a review on another game we saw this weekend, guys. Lee Miners 12, Stanley 20. Carsten said, a balanced first half which saw tries for both teams. Stanley started the second half with all guns firing and won it there. Hayley Fielding decided the match, a hat-trick. Yeah, the girls. So, Alan, you saw probably a little bit more of this than me and Tim did, because you were there a bit earlier than us. Was the result a fair reflection on the game? Was Stanley just about the better side?
Well, I mean, I did see all of it. I mean, Stanley started off really brightly and got the first try, but then they kind of disappeared out of it. So it wasn't that dissimilar to the Leeds performance afterwards, really. And it felt like Lee Miners were all over them, but they just kind of worked their way back into it. I've got to say, I was relatively impressed with the quality of it. I had no expectations beforehand, and obviously the conditions were just as tough for this one as they were for the game afterwards. But actually, I thought it was a good game, and I give Stanley the credit for coming back in the second half. And they deserve the win. And I think it's an interesting, because we were talking beforehand, weren't we, whether the winners of this will get promoted or not. And I think there's probably too big a gap between these teams and some of the Women's Super League teams. But I can see why this would be a good proving ground for some Super League teams who are trying to establish their own women's teams, because the standard was certainly up there to give them a test.
Yeah, and we talked about as well at the game, a lot of these sides, Lee Miners, Stanley, Wigan St Pat's, clubs like that, have produced the players that have actually gone into the Leeds squad, the Wigan squad, the St Helens squad. So
yeah,
actually, these have already been the breeding grounds of female rugby league talent, and so it's great that they're getting some sort of recognition on that stage that they got to have it at, even if it is the level below the Super League, which I think is probably about right, because the Super League clubs have a little bit of money to put some resource into a little bit better way that the players are treated around the games, even though
it'll be training facilities as well.
Yeah, I mean the coach that they got to go in, that they got to come in, was the same coaches that the men's teams travel on, and little things like that. And actually, they dressed up the finals day pretty well, I thought.
My one thing, that they put the hoardings around. My one quibble was the fact they had one tiny beer pump. That was the only place you could get beer. So it did at one point mean about a 20-person queue long, didn't it?
Yeah, and the other thing I predicted in the women's finals day pretty well spot on was the crowd figure. It was 1,189, and I turned around to you, didn't I? I say, but what do you reckon?
Told you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I thought both Lee Miners and Stanley were well supported by their guys. Their kind of friends and family were all around.
Yeah, and they clearly had some of their youth teams or B squads or whatever that were all kitted up and all giving it good and making a lot of noise. One of them had even bought a drum. I'd never want to condone drums at sporting events, but to be fair, it did get people going, and there's some very, very passionate fans, especially the Miners lot that we were near.
Yep. Okay. Dr. Hideous got in touch with him, I think, again we talked about last week, so I'm just going to read his thing out and then move on. He talked about the NCL Premier Division Grand Final, Hunslet Parkside 26, West Hull 18 played at Fev, because everything's played at Fev. Parkside's big forwards dominated the first half, and they won 14-2. They were 14-2 up at half-time. West Hull's half-time bollocking worked, and they pulled back to within 2 points, but by the hour mark they were tired. Parkside cruised to victory and won every league game this season. Another good, well-fought and fair game in the NCL. I hope it continues to get TV coverage next season. Of course, Hunslet won 26-18. Okay, the other game to talk about, and we've got 2 fan reviews in, so you guys can take one of these each. New Zealand 26, Australia 24. Alan, do you want to start with Paul Chamberlain?
Yeah, so Paul says, 2 teams in flux. Australia less the big 3 and New Zealand without Tongan players. Initially, Oz cut New Zealand to pieces out wide, but the New Zealand pack established dominance after a poor first 10 and beat up Oz down the middle. They gave the platform to Johnson to control the game and run with abandon. Other than a superb Mitchell, Australia looked toothless. Waria Hargreaves, Bromwich and Smith were all outstanding, but a disappointing crowd.
Yeah, it was quite small, so another worry for the game globally and not just in this country. Smith, the hooker, My observation on him is he is either a 12-year-old Maori kid or a 40-year-old Japanese man, but he's not a 20-something-year-old rugby league player. What did St David have to say, Tim?
Yeah, he said that in contrast to the grand final, this was an incredible game. The Roos Platinum left edge had the Kiwis on toast in the first 10 minutes, and it looked like a battering was on the cards. New Zealand dug in, though, and dominated the next hour, with forwards and outside backs making yards for fun down the middle. It would have been a tragedy had they lost it to the death. Roll on the series with England.
Yeah, did you guys catch any of this one at all?
I watched the first half in the hotel before getting up and about. It was quite a fast-paced game, and but New Zealand definitely, once they settled into it, really started pushing some big meters through the middle, and they did manage to fling it out quite a bit. And Sean Johnson was really controlling and wrapping round, and he was just everywhere at one point. Yeah,
I think that was like the key thing to take from this. Sean Johnson actually played on the platform that his forwards had set for him, which he doesn't always do. So in that sort of form, he's going to be dangerous. Both their centres are strike weapons, definitely, but can be got at defensively, which I'm surprised by because I didn't know they could, but now I think they can. So that's going to be interesting to see. Do you think England's pack is going to be able to match up to the New Zealand pack better than the Aussies did on this game, Tim?
I think it will. I think that the experience, as much as anything, of some of those forwards and the physicality and fitness, I think they will have, and they've got plenty of options. So it's not set necessarily who will go, but I think probably they will be able to.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's set up our series with them absolutely perfectly, to be completely honest. I'm very, very excited about those games to come. Okay, that's all the results covered. We don't have any predictions, but we haven't done the news yet, so we are going to do that now. News now, sponsored by RunDom.Run and Little Warden. Every year, Dom does stupid runs in stupid costumes to raise money for Martin House, and this year is not like no other because Little Warden is going to match any donation by the SLP listeners to RunDom.Run's cause. Just leave hashtag SLP family in the donation comment. Okay, we're going to try and fly through this news section. We always say this and we never manage it, but let's see how we get on, kids.
It's an express episode.
Yeah, it's already 2 hours. We did do 1 hour on one game. It was deserved there. Wigan won. England have called up...
If Wire had won, it would have been 10 minutes.
No, it would have been probably 2 hours. England have called up Leeds Rhino scrum half Richie Myler for the autumn internationals against France and New Zealand. The 28-year-old replaces Castleford's Luke Gale, who withdrew from the squad with a knee injury. And of course, we're also learning that half of the side will be made up of England Knights players for the France game because of obviously how many people were involved in the Grand Final. So yeah, Richie Myler was Leeds' Player of the Year. So form scrum half in the competition on that basis.
Yeah, so Wigan fullback, although is he technically Wigan fullback yet because he's still banned? Zach Hardacre has been handed a driving ban this time, and fine
it's easy
after...
to get confused with him.
It is, there's too many, yeah. Homophobia, driving ban and fine after admitting drink driving last month. Hardacre, 26, was arrested in Pontefract on September the 25th and charged the following day. He was given a 20-month ban from driving and has received a fine of £1,810. That would buy you a very nice set of golf clubs, that money.
Or a really shitty Fiesta.
Yeah. What an idiot.
Yeah. At least said better, I think.
We've done too much of him, haven't we? 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be an off-season special about the next time he fucks up as well. So let's move on.
Yeah. So Hull KR fullback Craig Hall and prop Nick Scruton have signed new one-year deals with 9 other players leaving the Super League side. Danny Tickle leaves along with Chris Clarkson, Ben Kavanagh, James Donaldson, Ben Clavering, Kieran Moss, Jordan Waln, Liam Salter and Matty Marsh.
Yeah, and Tom Andrews got in touch. He wanted to give his views on these guys. So in terms of the retained players, he said about Hall, really happy with this one, clearly was over the moon to be back and showed it in his form. Scruton, he said, I'm surprised as I thought he was retiring, but still I'm happy as he gives 100% every week, even with a broken body. Then the players departing, he said on Clarkson, he said, not consistently good enough but a grafter. On Kavanagh, he said, I would have thought he would be kept, but actually he wants to go part-time, I hear. On Donaldson, he says, gutted at this one, full of energy and a penalty-winning machine. On Marsh, never Super League quality, eclipsed by Atkin. On Salter, he said, solid squad player. Kind Horse is the same player, but better. On Moss, he said, not worth taking a quota spot. On Waln, he said, never showed anything worthy of an extension. On Clavering, he said, never made it, that's why we've never heard of him. And then on Tickle,
he played at Coventry. He did come down in Coventry, and I can't really remember anything he did, so that probably tells you everything you need to know.
There you go. And on Danny Tickle, he said he proved a lot of people wrong, including me, assuming re-retirement or part-time is next for him. So, as another Hull KR fan, Tim, do you have anything to add or amend to what Tom has quite comprehensively covered there? Yeah,
Craig Hall always has my heart. So, I'm very pleased to see him back in the side. I thought he gave us a real lift.
Really choice. If you had to save Hall or Preem, who would you save?
Sorry, Danica. I've known Craig's been longer. It's a longer relationship. I'm saving him every time. Nick Scruton, I've been really impressed with his attitude. He's really, knuckled down even when limbs have been hanging off. He's really got behind the club and got into the community side of things as well. As has Mrs. Scruton, she's been frequently tweeting about how much she loves the east side of the city. So that's fair enough. Of the ones out, Clarkson, not really fussed about. Donaldson, I agree with Tom. That I thought he was definitely someone that once you get an injury crisis, that he's someone that could really step up and slot in with not a lot of problems. So I'm surprised we didn't keep him, because I think he's someone that people probably isn't on a huge amount of money. Matty Marsh I feel a bit sad for, because I thought he was one that was going to break through and really do well, but
he hasn't.
As Tom says, he hasn't, and as Tom said, he has been eclipsed by Atkin this season. Waln, Clavering, Moss, Danny Tickle, again, he's proved me wrong as well. I'd assumed he was dead and buried, but apart from that idiotic thing with the rolling around for the penalty against whoever it was at Leeds, other than that, he's been solid this season. So fair enough. Wish him well.
Okay, Catalan Dragons forward Jason Battieri has signed a new 2-year contract with the Challenge Cup holders. The France international, who's 29, joined the Super League side from Sydney Roosters in 2011 and has gone on to score 18 tries in 188 appearances.
Yeah, centre Ian Thornley has become the 6th player to leave the Super League side Catalan Dragons in recent weeks. The 27-year-old joined the French club on a 2-year contract back in 2016. The Catalan have also confirmed the departure of scrum half Josh Drinkwater and hooker Paul Ayton, who was forced to retire through injury.
Just on Thornley, I think he was at the Swinton game yesterday, probably supporting his brother. But I think I spotted him in the bar, not drinking. So looking out for the club, obviously. Anyway.
Toulouse have pulled off a major coup for next season after securing the signature of Jonathan Ford once again. Ford will continue with the French side for the 9th season after the 29-year-old agreed terms on a new deal which will keep him with the Championship side in 2019. Good deal, I would have thought.
Yeah, huge business. They've basically kept their key players. And staying in France, Con Mika and Clement Boyer have signed contract extensions as well with Toulouse for next year. So really, they've kept together that whole team, really, haven't they? Which is great for them. Going into a competitive championship.
It's interesting that they're short-term deals in terms of you kind of think that he might be giving them another year, and then if Toulouse don't make it up, he might try to seek options elsewhere, perhaps.
Maybe the club have only put on the table 1 year deals because it's 1 year deals all round. So maybe that's just how they operate at the moment at the level they're at, and they can't really plan too far into the future because they don't know where they're going to be at in the future.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I don't know. Is my guess.
Fair enough.